What have you learned?
Few things. One of them being, I don't know whether. So there's this sense of self,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like when I'm in my thoughts, the separate self that I have doesn't exactly exist. Like I have a stream of thoughts
Mm-hmm.
that gives you the illusion that a self exists because these thoughts keep referring to the word I or me or something.
Okay, good. Keep going.
But I'm still not sure about that. But the other thing that I thought was I was contemplating this.
Mm-hmm.
I so all the senses don't have substance. Whatever I sense, like be it my vision, my hearing, smell, and like other senses as well.
Mm-hmm.
These don't have substance. Then and these are the only things that I interact like the only way that I can interact my surrounding reality with.
Mm-hmm.
Then what what does it mean to have something like what does it mean to have substance if only thing that I can sense is sense
Good question.
which
Great,
doesn't have substance.
great question. Okay, so do you have a? Let's get to that. What does it mean to have substance? Do you have some kind of filter on your lens, like a
No, no,
soft filter?
no, no. I think it could be because of light. How about now?
It's a little better. Could you move your head up just a bit and this way, the other way,
Like this?
the other way?
How about this?
All right, that's perfect, perfect, perfect. Now, what does it mean to have substance? Okay, well, let's. Why don't we start by with things that don't have substance?
Thoughts?
What else?
They don't. My senses, like the sense of touch, sense of vision, sense of hearing, they don't have substance as such.
Okay, what about thoughts? What about mathematics?
Those are thoughts. Those
Okay,
are sequence of thoughts.
what about memories?
Thoughts again.
What about money?
Again thought. It's a
Excellent,
construct.
excellent, excellent. All right, good. So, can you name anything with substance? Excellent, by the way. Beautiful. Very
No.
nice.
That's that's what I think. Like everything is thought. Like there is something that's modulating or working on top of these raw senses and modifying it. Like like when I say something is solid, there's no way to know that. Like if I see some car,
Some
how
car, a
do
car.
I know it? Yeah, how do I know it's a solid or it's hard?
Well,
Through vision I can't.
let's take a thumb drive.
Yeah,
If you grab it like this between your fingers, wouldn't you say that's
yeah.
solid?
No, the only senses that you get are pressure, the feeling of pressure on your thumbs and your index finger. And you're interpreting those senses to mean that that thing is solid and your vision as well.
But wait a minute, it casts a shadow of sorts,
Light.
but it does it in such a way that it's almost predictable what side is going to be shadow and what side is not going to be shadow.
Again, that's like modulation of whatever I'm seeing right now.
Okay,
I'm seeing here.
okay. So you're discovering what the philosophers discovered when they realized that one cannot rely on sense perception to tell you if something's, what was the word you used? Had substance or not.
Yeah. M- In this way, nothing has substance then.
Okay, nothing has substance. Excellent. Very good. Could you look up the word substance?
Yeah.
Excellent. Sounds like you're making progress.
Physical material from which something is made
Physical
or which
material.
has discrete existence.
Physical material with a discrete existence.
Yes.
So now we're stuck with the word physical. Could you look at that one real quick? Physical. This is fun. Good, good, good.
Relating to the body as opposed to the mind. That's by definition. Uh,
Wait a minute. Relating to the body
Relate-
as opposed to the mind?
yeah, I think it's with respect to a range of physical and mental challenges.
Okay, well let's find out the word, let's get to the word physical. Not physical versus mental.
Yeah. Physica, from Latin word physica, things relating to nature.
Things related to
Relating
nature.
to-
That's wild. This prefix,
that-
phys, what is that?
PHYS. The word phys comes from Greek, where it means nature or natural order.
Okay, good, good, good.
You,
All right. So you're realizing that your senses can't be relied on to tell you if something has substance.
but is there something that I can rely on at all? Like only thing I have are these things.
Very good question. State it again, please.
Is there something other than my senses that I can rely on to accurately sense or not sense or to accurately see or perceive my reality? Or
See
the reality.
your reality?
Not see, I would say perceive would be a better word, or be aware of my reality.
Be aware of your reality. Well, what are you using now?
All the senses that we talked of right now.
Get rid of the senses for a bit, and what's left?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Yeah, like if I were to, and if I assume thought to be a sense as well, then nothing exists. Like,
Does anything exist between your thoughts?
yeah,
Okay, what is that thing?
I don't know. I can't talk about that.
What if it's a process that's between your thoughts? Is it a thing or is it a process or what is it? You know something's there, but you can't say what it is. Is that what you're telling me?
I would argue more of a process. To be honest, even sensation is a process.
Correct. All right. So in between your sensations and your thoughts, what is there?
First of all, can there be any gap between sensations?
Can there be any what?
Gap between sensations?
Sure.
Yeah, it can be.
Okay, so we know something's there between thoughts and between sensations.
Sense of me, because I'm just imagining
Sense
myself.
of me. Good, good, good. So there's a sense of you in between thoughts. Now we've established that you can't rely on your senses. So what's left in this sentence? Sense of me.
The the one who is aware of these things.
Me, right? So you're
Yeah,
left. So
yeah,
without your senses, the sense of you is still there.
yes.
So now what exists between thoughts and sensations and perceptions and memories?
The awareness, the
Okay, good, good, good,
awareness,
good. The awareness. Now, is that awareness physical?
that is something that I wanted to get to this session.
Excellent. Beautiful. That shows some real contemplation. Excellent. And this is how progress is made. Very good. All right. Questions?
Yeah, so
Very nice. Very nice. Bravo.
continuing on to what
Now
we
things
were
get interesting.
discussing,
Now
right?
things get interesting. Okay, but keep going.
Yeah, I think I had few more questions in the sense field itself.
Good. Let's go.
Like, yeah, my question was, then there is something that is working on top of these raw sensations that I have.
On top of or
Like,
underneath or both?
it depends on how you look at it.
Mm,
By on top, I mean
very
like
good.
modulating or working on top of these things.
Modulating them, is that what you're
Like
saying?
modifying,
Modifying them.
modulating, yeah, modifying them, not modulating. And I think these are thoughts because that's the only thing that's left that I can do or that I can sense. Then
Okay, keep going.
I've been hearing a lot like my thoughts should like how like I should that I need to I sorry for not being clear. I think Krishnamurti basically says, how am I to stop thinking is a wrong question. And something along those lines,
It's the
I
wrong
was going
question
to
or the
ask
right
you.
question? What do you say? Krishnamurti says, how am I to stop thinking? Is that correct? Do I got you?
Is
Okay.
Yeah,
And
that's
you
a
think
wrong
that's the
question.
wrong
That's a wrong
question?
question. No, he says that is a wrong question to ask.
That is a wrong question to ask.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
I was thinking, I kind of get that because these are too subtle. These thoughts are too subtle to separate myself or to recognize them as thoughts.
Well, Krishnamurti is a very peculiar guy, right? He never was married, never handled money, although he ended up in court, and he did end up with his best friend's wife. But he's treated as a saint, and like whatever he says is like saintly, and people worship him, which is a mistake for any human, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Alive, in recent times or whatever. And so you have to take it. Remember, he's speaking from a place of satori, and he makes these pronouncements, and without regard, and maybe because he's speaking to the ages, right? Or maybe because I shouldn't say his best friend. I should say his money manager's wife, or whatever. For whatever, I'm not second guessing any of that. I'm just trying to get people to understand that they worship the idea of the man, and that allows him to make these proclamations without regard for the needs of the particular people that are listening. So let's go back to that statement. He said it's wrong to stop thinking or something like that, because he wants it all
No,
done in
it's
one
not.
woof, just no movement of thought. Stopping the movement of thought, which is great. Yeah, stop the movement of thought and just be there in eternity. Or what else does he say? Just kind of like, without the action of the past, without time, without memory, without any of these things. And that's great. But how do you get there? And that's what David
Yeah.
Bohm, Bohm, the very great physicist, spent a lot of time with Krishnamurti and watching him struggle. And Krishnamurti, God bless him, I love Krishnamurti, but he doesn't compromise for the sake of people learning. Do you see what I'm saying? He just states
Yeah.
What he sees as the ultimate fact. And so I'd be careful using just his pronouncement, just a piece,
Yeah.
like he says, stop the action of memory. That's great. But now you're talking satori, you're talking kensho, you're talking full awakening, the first full awakening. And most people aren't there. And he doesn't repeat that. He tried it with David Bohm and it got nowhere, tragically. But at any rate, people should just know more about him before they start worshiping him. You know what I'm saying? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
And worshiping
Yeah.
people,
So,
is not a great business. Unless you're a Christian and I suppose you can worship Christ. But I think even Muhammad said, I'm a messenger. I'm not the prophet. And I don't think Jesus said, worship me. He said, follow me, which is far more important. To follow in the steps of Jesus than just to, people substitute worship for the sincere growth that's required in this work. So I'll shut up, but keep going.
so yeah, the question basically was exactly what you're saying. How can I stop my thoughts if these type of thoughts, these subtle thoughts are there? How can I stop them at all?
You don't stop them. You let them stop themselves. You don't follow them. And for this, you need to be still and quiet. All right, this is different and isolated. And, Krishnamurti never had a job, never had any kids, didn't have to deal with the church or any politics in the church or anything like that. He lived a very quiet life in Ojai, a beautiful place. He had this beautiful estate that people supported him in. And so he spent all day with the trees. Lucky guy. And so, yeah, your mind starts to get quiet by itself if you just let it be. And you can slow down so it's not getting rid of thought, it's slowing it down to where and then it just stops for a while. But the brain's not going to allow you to do that very long. Neurons are constantly firing. And so you can do it, but that takes a lot. It does. And maybe Eckhart Tolle has more to say about it. But eventually, if you just are quiet and you've had enough practice and you're not preoccupied with all kinds of other things that are normal in human life, and you let it still, but then a leaf moves and thought moves. Because what is a moving leaf other than a movement of thought? So a gentle breeze hits a tree and then things aren't still. Now in satori or kensho or moksha or these truly elevated states, wonderful states, but they're states, they're not stages. Well, they become stages. Thought stops, or if it occurs, it has nothing to do with you. So that's the other way. Thoughts may occur, but you have nothing to do with them. Do you see what I'm saying?
So basically,
There's two
so
ways
that's
you
what
could
even
speak
I
of that.
was.
There's two ways you could speak of that. Because if a thought doesn't register, it doesn't register. And that's probably more of what's happening. I'm speaking as a neurobiologist, a neuroscientist, right? So you can have these periods of quiescence, of quiet, with no thought. But sooner or later, a thought's going to arise. Or a sensation is going to arise, right?
Yeah.
But how you react to that is more the question for most people. And if you could just let it come and go like a breeze in the wind, then it's the same as having no thought for practical purposes.
was
Now,
thinking
now
about the
just
same.
for completeness, now that what the Zen Buddhists call this is like being like dead ashes, cold ashes, or a dead tree,
Yeah.
right? Where the mind is not stirred by anything. But see, to say anything, as a neurobiologist, I'm going to have to like say, well, come on, that's a manner of speaking in a way. So Krishnamurti is either speaking of some very special states, very elevated states, like I just named off, or he's speaking of a stage of development where you're like cold ashes or a dead tree or a lake that's absolutely quiet, such that it has a mirror for a surface. And those are all doable, by the way.
Yeah, that's what even I was thinking. Like after first awakening, it's like there is disentanglement of thought and emotions, or at least major
Thought
part.
and emotions both go into the same wastebasket, right? And then you have just pure observation. I'm going to release we've been working on a Krishnamurti YouTube that talks about this. But imagine you're a perfectly clear lake. Absolutely nothing is stirring. There's no breeze above and no current below. And now you can reflect the heavens accurately. Something like that. That's what they mean by the mirror consciousness. That's what the Buddhists talk about a lot. Or Jesus, be still and know that I am God. No, I don't think that's Jesus. I don't think Jesus said that. But be still and know that I am God. By the way, Krishnamurti would not want to be worshipped the way he's worshipped in India. He was totally against that. Much to his credit, I guess.
I don't worship him.
Pardon me?
I don't worship him.
Okay, good.
I don't worship him. He's fully against the idea of authority. That's something that I don't want to, because
good. That's his most important teaching, is that don't trust authority. Do this yourself, right? Because no one else can do it for you, and religions will pretend that they can do it for you, and that leads to trouble.
How can they do it for me? Because for them to do it for me, they need to communicate. So they will need to use words, and that will always be limiting. They can point to me, but they can't do it for me.
Well, in the old days, the priests said they were the ones who spoke to God for you. We saw where that went. Or they take your money and you buy off your sins. But we don't need to get into religion here. We're not talking about religion. We're talking about a man's quest for truth, or a woman's quest for truth. Okay, so where were we?
Yeah, I had one follow-up. So regarding the metaphor that you gave about a still pond.
A still pond.
So after realizing the still pond, and if the pond
becoming the still pond
becomes, after becoming the still pond, essentially what I want to say is, after having first awakening, what can happen a bit later would be some bad event happens at your life. Do you still remain still?
So what do you mean? See, so bad and good, those are all terms for the mundane mind. In the realm of reality, you see things for what they are, and good and bad are labels that we attach to events. Like the leaves, oh my God, they're turning brown. Oh no, now they're falling off the tree. Oh no, right? We'd say that's silly. We'd say that's silly, but if you were a small being, you might think that, oh my God, they're going to die. But they're not dying. This is part of a process. And the same thing with, say, for example, human death. You might be afraid, oh my God, he's going to die. But that's because you don't understand who she is. Right?
Then why do people say that sometimes they come out of this state, the kensho state, Like they may remain there for a few days, few
Mm-hmm.
months, and then come back. Is it because they form a new ego that they start believing?
Well, their
And who
ego's
is
permanently
believing?
changed. Their ego's permanently changed. But remember, the brain goes back, and then they start identifying with the brain
But at the
because
but
they have these
they
habits
know
built
that
up
that's not.
over decades or more, right? Now, some people don't come back. I think what was his name? I mean, if you don't have anything to worry about in the world, like what's his name? The other great Indian saint, or considered a saint, Maharishi, not the Beatles one, but the
Ramana
other guy,
Maharshi.
the guy with a loincloth who just sat
Uh,
there for his whole life. What's his name?
yeah, Ramana Maharshi.
Ramana Maharshi. So I don't think he didn't get mixed up in money or women or business or government or helping others or doing anything except teaching a little bit, barely. I don't even think he spoke for 7 years. So people are different,
Yeah,
but we're just speculating, we're fantasizing. But
yeah.
but in general, yeah. Remember, it's a state at first, and then it becomes a stage, like so many of these things. And so people confuse states with stages, and that gets them in a lot of trouble. Right?
Got it.
Okay. Good. Keep going. You're going to get to that state. Seriously, if you just keep asking questions sincerely. All right. Another question, or where were
Uh,
we?
yeah, I think this is slightly different, and this is about my self-inquiry. I was again asking myself, who am I?
Who was asking you yourself?
That's what I want to search for.
So question mark was asking. Let's see. Let's substitute a question mark for you. So question mark was asking who as question mark. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
that's
So
precisely.
question mark inquires who is question mark.
Uh, now that you put it that way, question mark inquires who is question mark.
Well, that's what you said. I was looking for my true self or something. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I was just asking who am I
Okay.
to
So
myself.
question mark is asking who am question mark. So that's more or less the equation, right?
Yeah,
So what if we put this, because I think we can do this, can we put this in mathematical terms?
that's a recursive, infinite recursion
No,
that
is
will
it
keep
X?
expanding.
Pardon me?
Sorry.
Do it for me?
Yeah,
Well,
that's a infinite recursion. Like I is asking who is I. Now I replace I with I asking who is I. That keeps on going.
oh, I see. That's a violates Gödel too. The completeness theorem.
Yeah, it's
Gödel, Godel. All right. Well, let's do this. Question mark is asking who is question mark, but now let's take, as you did in the beginning, let's take out all the sensory and thought aspects or perceptual aspect of question mark. Strip the question mark of all the sensory, thought, memory, and perceptual data. What did you say was left?
the sense of me,
Okay,
the one
so
who
that's
is.
that's what we're going to call question mark.
Yeah,
The sense.
yeah,
Okay, so now let's reformulate the question. The sense of me is asking who is. Now we just have to do the other half of the equation.
can it even ask that?
Sure,
As far
sure.
it is just aware of it. There is a thought that says the sentence that you're talking about,
Say it again.
the sense of me.
You said, I am
So,
asking, who am I, right?
yeah,
All right. So we take I out, the first I out, because we're going to remove the
yeah,
thoughts, sensations, perceptions, and memories. And that leaves us with, what did you call it? A sense of
of
awareness.
me.
All right.
Yeah,
Now, the sense of awareness is asking, who am I?
yeah. But can it even ask that if it doesn't have thoughts?
Well, yes, but okay. Of course it can. Because it just becomes that one. It's not a thought. It's a desire. So what if? Okay, so what is the term, the mathematical term between these two question marks now?
The question mark.
I tell you what if we flip it? Flip the equation the other way around.
So you are saying, who is asking, who am I?
There you go. Good. Now let's get to that one.
Who is asking, who am I? Then you replace I. Who is asking, who am? Who is asking, who am I?
There you go.
Then you keep going. It's just infinite recursion.
It's an infinite regress, you say?
Recursion.
Infinite
You can keep
recursion.
expanding.
Okay. All right. Well, keep working on it. I'm sure you'll get somewhere.
Yeah, no, I was.
This is good. This is good. Excellent. Good. This is how it's done, my friend.
So,
One of the ways.
I.
And see, in a moment of insight,
I
it'll hit you, So don't worry about it. Just keep working.
So I had this theory, essentially.
Okay.
My sense of actually prior to this theory, can the sense of me have a beginning or an ending, and an ending? Because
Can the sense of me have a beginning
have a
or an ending?
or an ending.
That seems like a
Essentially
good
both
question.
of it. Because I can't prove it. Only way I can prove it is if I die.
Or if you're born.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, wouldn't that hinge on what you call you? I mean, the infant you, did it have a beginning and an ending?
The infant you, did it
You as
I
an
would argue
infant.
in my current state, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The
I would say
teenage you, did it have a beginning and an ending?
yes. Yes.
And the so what do you think about the current you?
I do think there has been a beginning and an ending.
Okay.
In
Now.
the sense that yeah,
Is there any part of you that remains from the infant you and the teenage you?
that was my theory. My theory was my sense of me is being modulated by a minimal set of cells in my body
Okay, what are the
that
requirements
always
of the
survived.
Go ahead. Okay, so your sense of me stays through infancy, teenage years, and adult years, right?
Yeah.
Now, is there another
Right,
way
and
to phrase this sense of you? What's another word for that?
awareness.
Okay, awareness. Some people would say consciousness. Okay, awareness.
Yeah.
Not alertness, which comes and goes, but awareness. All right?
Yeah.
So you're saying that that part of you that doesn't come and go with infancy, teenage, and young adulthood.
Yeah, I basically had a theory that there exists some minimal set of cells
Good.
that modulate this awareness,
A minimal
and these
state of
cells
cells, a minimal set of cells, right?
yes,
All right.
yes,
Well, I'm a
and
neurobiologist, and I studied it formally for a long
yeah,
time with
so
Nobel
in
laureate. So ask me about those cells.
yeah, I was just going to ask those.
Okay. What's the
And
question?
my theory was these cells remain there throughout my life, and when I die, these cells die. First of all, can this ever be possible?
Okay. That would require, first of all, certain cells
Yeah, you don't know.
that last a
That's
lifetime, right?
yes, yeah,
Well, we can go to the human right away, but why don't we go to some recent experiments in with other creatures that have awareness?
okay,
All right.
okay, yeah,
Let's take the caterpillar that's going to become a butterfly, much like you are going to awaken and become a new being, right? How much of the brain of the caterpillar is transported into the butterfly, and how is that done?
I don't know. Maybe that
The
does
brain is
exist some
entirely
cells.
homogenized. There are no cells that transfer.
Um, but then, how do you know they have consciousness or they have
Well,
awareness?
we're going to stipulate that they had some awareness. Yeah, because they can see color, they can smell flowers, butterflies. So they must have something like awareness. Let's say. I don't know that they do or don't, but
Okay.
okay. With the human, we've been looking as long as I've been alive, and a lot longer if you go through history, trying to find the place where that exists. Now, here in the brainstem, down here, way down in here,
Yeah.
we can find some cells. Let's see, that modulate. They're down in here between the lobes of the cerebellum, that modulate alertness and awakeness and breathing and heart rate and things like that, dreaming.
Yeah.
But they have nothing to do with the sense of self. So the thing is, we can't find any cells like that. So,
Even my best bet was on brain, because I was thinking along the terms of what things that we have transplanted, and if those cells exist in those transplanted organs, then certainly those are not necessary
good.
because you can.
Good. But we've also done a lot we have a lot of data from people who have strokes or who had brain trauma or who have had, spikes strung through their head, like Phineas Gage, or people that we
Yeah.
surgically remove it, or we cut the corpus callosum, or we do a lobotomy and cut out the front half of the brain, or people are born without half their brain or with minimal part of brain. We can't find those cells because they don't exist, probably.
Yeah.
And there may be
And
cells that are
I think,
necessary, but they aren't sufficient at all.
and I
But that's
was
good. If you
thinking
could find
people having.
those cells anywhere, just ask a chat GPT, find out. But I don't think you're going to find them.
Yeah, but again, the reasoning that you say, right? I don't think I'm gonna find them. That's still a belief from my perspective. So
Until you
I
go and
don't want
look.
to.
I
Yeah,
spent a lifetime
yeah,
looking.
yeah.
I did. That was what I did. Even did a year of cardiology because I thought it was in the human heart, sort of ish, Well, the heart-brain connections. At any rate, no.
But again, this is a moot point if the sense of me is infinite or doesn't isn't born or doesn't die, because then you can always ask, prior to my birth, who was I? Where were these set of cells prior to my birth, prior to me being conceived at all?
So then the
I
question
wasn't
becomes,
even there.
is it physical? Remember, going back to the beginning, is it a physical
Yeah,
substance?
that was my first question actually. I was
Exactly.
just
That's why we're
exploring,
going
is
back
it
to it. So,
physical at all?
so do you believe that awareness is a physical substance that's...
I still have doubts. I
By
still
the way,
think there is,
Descartes, the
but
very
there are.
brilliant, brilliant French, really amazing French philosopher, thought, I don't know if you could see it, right? There's a little kind of like a pea-like thing right in there. See that? It looks like a little pea. That's the
Yeah, the
pineal
pineal
gland.
gland.
Yeah, he thought the soul was in there, or that was a place where the brain talked to consciousness. So let's just move just slightly this far. And are you aware of what's called the hard problem of consciousness?
Is it the question about where
Okay, for the
this
last
consciousness?
30 years, I'd say it's become
Yeah,
mainstream and it's become academically okay to talk about it. The question is, where does consciousness arise in the brain? And how does a physical substance, a substance like you talked about, something physical, how does something physical become awareness itself? How does it become consciousness? Descartes, Descartes, Rene Descartes, the great French philosopher, thought that this must occur in this little organ in the center of the brain, because it wasn't bilateral, I don't think. Yeah, just the pineal gland. And scientists have been struggling, and philosophers have been struggling with this question constantly since actually the beginning, of recorded science. How does a physical substance manifest itself as consciousness? Because there's a category problem, isn't there?
yeah,
And even in principle, the idea that you're going to take the arrangement of physical things somehow, and then from this physical things, there's going to emerge something with the characteristics of consciousness, awareness itself. How could that possibly happen? And as long as they're looking for physical things to do that, they've been reduced to microtubules and quantum mechanics. They say, well, it must be in the microtubules because there's quantum mechanics there, and we don't understand quantum mechanics, and we don't understand consciousness, so maybe it's there. Are you aware of this?
that's.
Work,
But
Samaroff,
that again is a belief.
huh?
Yeah, but again, that's just evolving into a set of beliefs.
Well, but hopefully they could be experimentally tested.
Yeah,
But you'd have to take quantum experimentation. So this is a great fun thing about the times that you live in. You can engage in this debate with them. So it's Stuart Hameroff, and then there's a whole list of very popular neuroscientists. Do you know who I'm talking about? Or you can go to the physicist. What's his name? Really great guy. Did the great courses. I'm blocking on his name, but he teaches at Caltech. So you can go to Caltech, you can go to Irving, you can go to Boston, you can go to people who are outside of universities, but they're all on YouTube fighting it out, right?
thanks.
But see,
Yeah,
so this question is a wonderful question, and you need to answer it for yourself. Can something physical produce something like consciousness? I'm not sure, but I don't think Aristotle thought it was possible. Go ahead.
yeah. I was thinking about people having out of body experience, and
Okay.
that's like, how can it be physical or something in their body if they're experiencing something outside their body?
Well, that can have certain physical correlates. Like I had a patient with hypertension, a woman in her mid late 60s, who her chief complaint, the reason she came to the hospital was because her body would get up and walk around the apartment, go to the kitchen while she was in bed, and she didn't like it. She was an old lady. She didn't she didn't watch YouTubes or take acid or do any of that stuff. She just didn't like it. She thought it was unpleasant. And make a long story short, when we lowered her blood pressure with a nitrate acutely, the body would come back, the image would come back into her body. Okay? But see, that doesn't say anything about awareness per se. It just says something about the locus of awareness. You see what I'm saying?
But that also means locus of awareness can move fluidly.
Okay, if you say so. But for that to move fluidly like that, you're talking about idealism, in a way, are you not?
Yeah, not necessarily fluidly, but people can control it a bit.
So if that's the case, then can they fly, people? Can they fly physically?
I don't think they can fly physically. There is nothing happening physical.
Can they levitate?
No.
Actually, Krishnamurti describes several very strange phenomena like that of people he observed in India. You have to read all of Krishnamurti, which I have, and also go through a lot of these YouTubes and things, but he describes some very advanced yogis getting an audience with him. You know, he's a very big deal in India. And these three people doing these cities, that's what they're called, right? These magical powers.
Yeah.
Krishnamurti had no explanation. He was wowed by it. But he doesn't dabble in those things, and most people don't. Serious people don't. But I don't know. I've never seen anybody levitate. I've seen people pretend to levitate. Okay, so anyway, so we're getting off topic. So this is great. So you're right at the hard problem of consciousness. So you're at the same place where physicalists, philosophers, neuroscientists, and any thinking woman or man ends up, but you're young enough to answer the question for yourself. How is it that we get consciousness out of physical substrates? What gives? Because your sense of self, I would venture to say, has not aged. Now your body's changed and your concerns have changed, but your consciousness per se remains the same as it was as an infant or a young child, as far back as you can remember.
If it doesn't age, then can it even be physical?
Absolutely, you're right. Is it physical? Back to your first question. And you said you couldn't trust your senses to decide if something was physical or not. So these are the very questions that you should be asking. Have you been reading the Avatamsaka?
Yeah, I have a few questions.
Good. Let's do it. Because it has things to say about this. So they struggled. They dealt with these problems in the first century.
Yeah.
What page are you on?
Yeah, so the question is on the formation of the worlds, page 196.
Okay. So now we're on what page?
196. 196.
So this is which chapter? The third chapter?
Yeah, the formation of the worlds.
So we're looking at the third chapter in this book, The Flower Ornament Scripture. A magnificent, enlightening, it literally will enlighten you. 2nd century text that is just translated into English, not late in the last century. Okay, on page 196.
Yeah, I think there's this paragraph about then universally good.
Okay, let me read it for folks, because I love reading this stuff. Then universally good again address the great assembly. Buddha children, know that the oceans of worlds have as many spans of existence as there are atoms in an ocean of worlds. That is, some abide for an incalculable eon, some abide for an infinite eon, some abide for a boundless eon, some abide for an incomparable eon, some abide for an uncountable eon, some abide for an unspeakable eon, some abide for an inconceivable eon, some abide for an immeasurable eon, some abide for an inexplicable eon. There is many such spans as atoms in an ocean of worlds. Then to review, universally good, looking over the 10 directions by the power received from the Buddha said, now eon, by the way, is spelled E-O-N-S, eons, okay. And then to review, universally good, looking over the 10 directions by the power received from the Buddha said, among the oceans of worlds are various ages, adorned by vast, extensive technical skills. Observing all the lands in the 10 directions, the differences in the measures of their ages becomes clear. I see that eon lengths in the world oceans of the 10 directions are innumerable, same as sentient beings. Some long, some short, some are without bounds. I tell of them by the Buddha's voice. I see the ocean of lands in the 10 directions. Some abide for eons numerous as atoms, some for 1 eon, some for numberless. Each is different due to the variety of vows. Some are wholly pure, some are wholly defiled. Then again, in some purity and defilement are mixed. The structures of the oceans of vows vary, abiding in the conceptions of sentient beings. Having cultivated practices for eons as many as atoms in a land, and attained vast and pure oceans of worlds, the Buddha's realm is fully adorned, abiding forever through boundless eons. Some eons are called light of various jewels, some mind of radiant eyes, or equal sound, undefiled light, or eon of virtue. These pure eons contain all eons. There are pure eons in which one Buddha appears, or in one eon countless Buddhas may appear. With inexhaustible skill and means and great willpower, they enter into all the various ages. Infinite eons may enter one eon, or one eon may enter many eons. The various aspects of the oceans of all eons clearly appear in the land of 10 directions. The adornments of all eons may appear in one eon, or the adornment of one eon may enter all boundless eons. From the first moment to the completion of the eon, all is born from the conceptions of beings' minds. All oceans of lands, their eons boundless, are purified by one technique.
Yeah.
And then one last sentence. Then, universally good, also Samantabhabra, also said to the masses, children of Buddha, you should know that the oceans of worlds have as many differences in changes and in the ages as there are atoms in an ocean of worlds. Man. Saturate yourself in that for a while and watch yourself evolve and awaken. Go ahead.
Yeah, this passage had a lot of fractal elements to it.
A lot of what elements?
Like fractal kind of elements.
Yes,
like
the whole book.
infinity on
The
split
whole
and-
book is both fractal and holographic.
Yeah.
Go ahead. A priceless treasure.
Yeah. So I had a question in the 196 page.
Oh, I put it away. Okay. 196.
Yeah.
What's the question?
I think in the paragraph where University talks about the age of ocean of worlds, my question is, aren't they all just infinite?
What do you mean by infinite?
Incalculable.
Have you studied Hilbert? Hilbert
heard of them,
spaces or Hilbert
right?
hotels.
Yeah,
So Hilbert, and tell me if
yeah.
I'm wrong, but Hilbert has an infinite number of hotel rooms. But then
I
a
totally agree
truck,
with you. Yeah.
a truck carrying, I don't know, 100 billion new visitors come. Is there going to be room in Hilbert's hotel?
Yes.
So was it infinite or what? Why do you say
It
infinite? Why don't you say
certainly is.
uncountable?
Uh, Uncountable could also mean uncountably precise or uncountably small,
Okay, what
like
about
0.00.
unspeakable?
Unspeakable would mean nothing at all.
How about
And
inconceivable?
you can't even think about it.
So what about an
It
infinity of
could be.
infinities? An unspeakable infinity of infinities?
We can keep talking like that, like we can have infinity by infinity.
Excellent. So what do you mean by infinite?
A large number,
The last number?
really,
Hmm?
a number that is greater than all numbers in the
Okay,
universe.
you hold
But
on to that
again,
infinite.
these
Hold
are,
on to that infinite, all right? You've got it, right? Greater than
yeah.
all the numbers in the universe. I want you to add one to that.
So that essentially says that's not a greatest number.
Exactly. So there's a book I want to point you to. It's called The Uncountable, and they address that here. You'll like it as a mathematician. It's called The Uncountable, and it's The Incalculable on page 905. You'll love it when you get there. But they address this. So good question. But just know when you say the word infinite, that's an easy word to say. But there's
Yeah.
there are things bigger than infinity and smaller. Say if you wanted to say something was infinitely small, there's things smaller than infinitely small. And so how do we speak of those unspeakable, incalculable, unimaginable numbers?
And
Well, there is a way to do it, and it's in that book called The Incalculable. You'll like it. It's fun. Good, good, good. I'm very happy. Keep going. What's the question?
yeah, so in the page 197, there is this verse, I think second verse.
Second verse.
Yeah, I see the oceans of lands in the 10 directions. Some abide for eons, numerous as atoms, some for 1 eon, some for numberless. Each is different due to the variety of vows.
Yes.
My question here is, how does variety of vows affect age of a world?
So you're, I feel guilty doing this, but you're making progress, and I'm just going to let you in on a secret that the book will make clear. See, the way this book works is the whole thing works together, and it will teach you how that is, right? But ask your question again, and I'm gonna move you ahead a little bit, but not too much because you got to let the book do it's literally its magic. It's psychological
I think,
magic. What's the
and not
question?
only that, again, the question was, how does variety of vows affect the age of a world?
I see the oceans of lands in the 10 directions. Some abide for eons numerous as atoms, some for 1 eon, some for numberless. Each is different due to the variety of vows. Okay, how far you can see depends on what you've done with your life. How many oceans of worlds you can see, just like now you see one world and you think you understand it, but you don't. There are an infinite number of worlds as numerous as sentient beings and more. According to your vow to become enlightened, then you will be able to perceive oceans of worlds, of which this is one at the moment. Some of these worlds will last an instant, some will last 1,000,000 years. remember at the top it says you will be able to see. Is that correct? What does it say at the very top? I put the book away.
Yes, each is different due to variety of verbs.
What is the first line of that little paragraph?
Yeah, I see that the eon lengths in the world
So
oceans of the 10
I see.
directions.
I see.
Yeah,
So you can't see any of them. You can only see one if you're stuck in one little primitive primate brain that hasn't been opened, right? But as you
yeah,
learn more and as you expand your mind, then you'll begin to see how many cosmoses there are in reality, not just in the narrow little one that you were trained to believe in. Again, for me to move you ahead in this text is very, very, my eyebrows are going to fall off, right? But you're getting closer, and you will be able to see not just eons of different durations, eons of different sizes, eons of different characters, eons of infinite joy, and eons of hell. You'll be able to perceive things that you can't perceive now because your mind is too small now, but it's getting bigger. I can tell. Even the little bit that you've read, 100, you're on what, book 3? That even that little bit
yeah.
is starting to have an effect. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, like I think in previous few verses, there were few verses about how valves create different worlds,
Correct.
different ocean worlds.
So now you're in a world in which enlightenment is possible. You're in a world in which a man can or a woman can find truth or God. Many people don't live in a world like that. They live in a world where all of that is just silly, laughable. Right? So,
And I think just one last question I would say.
okay, good. But I love these questions. So Einstein could perceive things that the rest of us could not because he prepared his mind and he made vows to understand. And so he could see the universe as relative, and he could see how things were big or small depending on the speed at which you were traveling and everything relative to another. So, and people before us lived in a world where the universe, the cosmos, revolved around the solar system, our solar system, or the earth, or the sun. But we live in a world where the universe has no center, or everywhere is its center, and its periphery is endless, or there is no periphery. So
You
we live
can't
in a
see it.
different cosmos. We live in a different cosmos. Now, how long will this eon last? This eon of human life on the planet?
At max 100 years.
What?
At max 100 years.
Really?
100 or
Okay, you're kind of pessimistic, my friend. I think we'll be better than that. The
Yeah.
crocodiles have been here for 400 million or 600 million,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
So keep going. What was your question? And then we're going to have to stop.
Yeah, I think this one is in
Forgive me. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think this one is in the third last verse,
Okay, what
where
page?
page 197.
Okay.
I think it's infinite eons may enter one eon,
Yes,
or
sir.
one eon may enter many eons.
Yes.
The various aspects of the ocean of all eons clearly appear in the lands of the 10 directions. This is like a pretty trivial one, but it's like, what does it mean to enter an eon?
Well, let's take your childhood years.
Okay.
We call that an eon. Okay. For now, just for,
Okay.
okay, as a thought experiment.
Yeah.
Now let's take your lifetime. Can you see how your childhood can enter into the eon of your lifetime? The eon of your childhood could enter into your lifetime. Now, but what about the converse?
Yeah.
The eon of your lifetime entering into your childhood. The child is father to the man. Or let's take an oak tree. That's easy, maybe easier. The eon of the acorn, and I'm really oversimplifying this, and my eyebrows are starting to hurt because it's much better than this, all right? But I'm going to give you little pieces in the hope that it'll help you and help other people out there. The eon of an acorn contains the eon of the oak tree. And the oak tree has in its eon the eon of the acorn.
I still did not get how eon of acorn has eon of oak tree. I do understand the converse.
What's inside that acorn?
The seed for the oak tree.
Exactly, that's the point. It's a metaphor.
Okay.
Now let's take the eon. How long have crocodiles been around? Just let's ask somebody real quick.
Think around 200 million years.
How many?
100 million years. 200 million years.
200 million years for crocodiles, right? Are you sure?
Yeah. Or it's actually around 100, I would argue. Yeah.
Well, don't argue on the basis of opinion. What's the carbon dating state?
Yeah. I think they date their heritage with dinosaurs. The earliest crocodilian, meanwhile, evolved around 95 million years ago.
Okay. How long have trees been around? Trees with trunks.
Even earlier than that.
I don't think so.
So was there no flora during that?
There was flora, but not trees with single trunks and tall.
But here it says around 350 to 420 million years ago.
How long ago?
350 to 420 million years ago.
Did you look up crocodiles or did you look up alligators or something?
I looked up crocodiles.
Okay. All right.
But there have been other things like crabs and all who have been here for 450 million years.
I'm sorry, what?
There are other, how should I say, animals who have been in this earth for like longer than.
Take sharks.
Actually,
Let's do sharks. How long have sharks been around?
Over 450 million years.
450 million years. 450 million years for sharks, okay? And they're still around.
Yeah.
And how long have trees been around?
Yeah.
You said 350, right?
Yeah.
350, 420.
At max 400. Yeah.
Okay. So sharks have been around longer than trees.
Yeah.
So the eon of the shark includes the eon of the tree. That was just kind of for fun, just to think about that. But the point is this, is that an eon is a thought object.
Yeah.
It's not a ruler, like in the normal sense. And even if it were a ruler, like Hilbert's hotels, right? We could subdivide it and keep subdividing it. And so what it's trying to teach you is another way to think, one that's not necessary. It's like with Einstein, we had to learn to think in a new way. We had to learn to think in terms of the relativity of space and time, right? Now, what this sutra is asking you to do is think of still another way beyond space and time. And so it's a gradual process, but you're getting there. All you have to do is read it, just like you're doing. You're doing great. All right, sir?
Yes.
Keep thinking. Solve this question. What is substance? What is physical? Who or what is it is asking, who am I? Right?
Yeah.
Keep going and you will find the answers. You know, as they say in Christianity, knock and the door shall be open. And remember, you have all these saints and angels and bodhisattvas. These are all powers of mind, but mind in the real sense of mind, not in the tiny little monkey mind, but in the sense of the consciousness that actually makes this universe. And these powers are yours, but you have to learn to access them. But knock, and it will be open. Ask and you shall receive. Okay, sir?
Yes.
Have a great whatever. Okay? Talk to you soon. Keep going. Yay.